Welcome back to Whatchu Spinnin, where we each pick an album, listen to all three, and then on the weekends we get together and bullshit about them. As always, I'm Dorian. We've got George. George, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. How about you guys?
Doing great. Then there's Jacob, as always, as well. How are you, my friend?
Doing good. Big chillin'.
Being
Donda energy today.
Lots of Donda energy today. I don't know what that means. I don't know exactly the meaning that you're trying to get across, but fuck, there we go.
Donda. It's good.
All right. Well, if you watched the last episode, you saw what we picked for this week. Had some great conversation last week. These are all very interesting takes. They're different albums that we chose, and interesting in their own right. Three completely different genres, essentially. But what do you guys want to talk about first?
I'm gonna be real. I'd say we get the elephant out of the room and we talk about Dorian's album. I got a lot to say about Dorian's album. I feel like.
All right. So if you all remember from last week, if you saw the episode, I picked Noise by Ghostmane. Do you want me to give my 2 cents on it first?
I want to hear what you got first.
Yeah. So yeah, Noise by Ghostmane, a little trap metal album. The genre that it is what you want to fucking call it. But if you look on the internet, it's apparently called trap metal. But it's that super dark, very metal influenced rap music that really spawned out of the southern eastern part of the states with Suicide Boys, Ghostmane, Puya, all those guys. Puya, the lesser of the two or the three, came out in 2018. A lot of artists like this just make albums and release them all the time. This came right after he dropped Hexada in 2017. Great album. Has probably one of his most popular songs on it in Mercury Retrograde. Right after that, a year later, he dropped Noise, which was the album that actually got me, or was the first album I picked when I started diving into his discography, because I discovered him on YouTube featured. I had heard a feature that he did with Puya years ago, but I saw when YouTube suggests a video after you watch something. Yeah, Mercury came on, and I was obsessed. I was like, all right, bet. And so I started looking through his shit, his whole discography, and I was like, well, this album cover looks aggressive as shit, so let's look at this. And I was blown away. Insane stuff. I'll save the rest. I just talked for forever, so I'll let you guys dive in before I
think you definitely nailed it. I was gonna say that. So Suicide Boys and Ghostmane and other people like Ramirez and Puya. And Puya's more kind of groovy, singing and stuff. But yeah, they're kind of rap / not EDM, but just electric music. And then also rock. They're they're three different things that all take from each other, and it's hard to describe what it is basically, but it's definitely it hits hard. I personally can't sit down and just listen to it. I feel I have to do something. And I told you that one night, I'm yo, I'm listening to this. I'm I'm gonna go on a bike ride right now.
And it was pissing down rain, and I was bro.
I was sitting doing nothing, and I'm listening to this album. I'm dude, I gotta do something. But yeah, and then when I go to the store or something, I'll put the album on, and it's I get there quicker. I get there 2 minutes quicker. It's definitely super cool to see how the South, the Southern music that's coming up. I mean, I guess there were SoundCloud rappers before,
right?
They definitely made a name for themselves. They weren't the crappy SoundCloud rappers that everybody makes fun of because they don't do anything or whatever. But yeah, I could tell they were definitely influenced by how kind of dark and sinister how 3-6 Mafia was. Like they kind of like got a lot of that from there, and I could definitely speak for Suicide Boys at least. Like they got a lot of influence from that, like Juicy J and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty good album. Like I'm gonna put it on when I'm gonna do anything like physical or anything like that.
Yeah, no, dude, that's like that summed it up perfectly, George. Honestly, like the first thing that caught my eye of this album, first off, was the album cover. The album cover is really dope. Like that fucking the hand with the sword, just like holding it. Like we've been
like the weird barber blade. Yeah, it's like a barber blade
like,
or some shit.
Yeah, like we've been playing a lot of Elden Ring, and like I could see that being like a sword, you know, like or like a medieval fucking sword. Like it looks cool. Like that's
like the newer take on Liquid Swords by
yeah, right. Yeah. That's the first thing. And then when I actually listened to it, like it was definitely something that I had not listened to. Cause it like I see the similarities with like Suicide Boys, and with like Puya that we were talking about. But at the same time, George said it already. It kind of has like at some points like that EDM style. Like it's just like really noisy, like and really really gritty. That like it's at some points like it's like metal, and then at some points it's like rapping. At some points he sounds a lot like Ruby the Cherry from Suicide Boys.
Right. He also sounds like Scream. I was about to add that. Like
he's a perfect blend of the two.
Yeah, exactly.
With also like a dash of Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, but then he also has really good like guttural yells. It's fucking he's damn impressive. I actually think whatever you want to like this. That's why I wanted to pick something like this, was because it's a controversial kind of genre for people that are really into this kind of music. We get a lot of shit for being into it, you know, because of how different it is. And
yeah, I feel embarrassed when I listen to like the Suicide Boys sometimes. Like I'll listen to it, I'm like, damn, I probably get made fun of for this.
Yeah. But like I'll pull up to Albertsons and fucking Flesh will be playing off of this album, and like all these olds are just looking at me, and I'm like, wearing my fucking collared shirt and my name tag for more, just chilling.
But that's the cool thing about that like subgenre is that it's what made me like it even more and like seal the deal. I'm like, yeah, I'm always gonna have like an open ear to this genre, was because of Ramirez, because he was like a Latino person that was just, he looked like cholo as hell, but he's also like spitting some crazy raps, and he's part of like the G, what is it called, like the G59?
G59. Yeah, G59.
And he's part of it, and like he's had songs with like Scrim and Ruby, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Like I never thought I'd have like a Hispanic person that I could see that's actually getting pretty successful right now in this age. And so like it was interesting to see like where he came from and stuff like that. And yeah, this album is like it's just right there, you know. It hits that sweet spot. It's in that genre, and it hits, dude. It makes me want to go off.
Yeah, I was talking to George about this earlier this week because we were talking about it. And George was like, "Oh, this would be like perfect if you went to the gym." And I did go to the gym like all this week, and one day I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna put this on, see how I vibe with it." And I was doing bench press.
Was that when, dude? No.
And dude, I hit a new PR to this album, more specifically to Gateca.
Dude, Gateca is one of my favorite songs.
I like that song. That's a good song, especially when it drops. But when it came on, I don't know, I just felt like so much more like in the moment, like in the zone. It's like so intense and like high intensity that I was like, I'm gonna fucking live this.
I'm gonna do this, goddamn.
Yeah, it definitely, this album, like I had never heard anything like this. I had heard Ghostmane, but not this whole album, not a whole album of his. So this album I actually really did enjoy. So I think it's a really great pick that you brought it up, Dorian.
Thank you. And I'll say one last little spiel about it. One of my favorite things about it and about this type of genre, or the people within this kind of genre as a whole, but specifically this album, I listened to it a little bit last night, and then the rest of it this morning again, just because I love it. Obviously I picked it. I fucking love this album, but it's also like 27 minutes long, and so you can just throw it on. And I have a playlist that has most of it in it anyway, so I just like played that chunk of the playlist basically. But my favorite thing about him is his ability to, on these songs like Nile and Trench Coat, all this shit, he has the ability to really, start delivering a line at a more slower pace and delivery, and then on like a random kind of beat, if you think about it on like a beat perspective, on a random beat, on like the 3 of the bar, or whatever you want to define a point, he kicks it up and starts like subdividing the shit out of what he's saying, and then he'll go like and it's like, and then he literally just, it's like flipping a light switch. He's just there and then back, and it's
he
incredible.
plays around with the beats that's literally like laid right in front of him, and you can switch up like at any point in time.
Exactly. And also there is a full video. There's if you just Google Ghostmane Live, the first one that pops up is his 2019 Lollapalooza performance. And when I first heard anytime I get into somebody, I'm like, let me see what they sound like live, so I'll scour YouTube for like a good quality video of them.
Yeah.
He sounds just as good live, and it's even more impressive. And their stage show is unreal. He has like a full band with him, and there's a dude
for that type of music. Like, it's always better live, because you can't like express all the emotions through just a mic. I mean, you can express all your emotions through like a mic, but in person, it's like it's you showing everything.
Yeah.
Seeing people live are pretty crazy, to be honest. It's always like something, like you really get to see like the artists like really express themselves when they're singing or rapping like their songs.
Yeah.
I definitely think seeing Ghostmane live would probably be like if I don't knock someone out, someone's gonna knock me out.
yeah. There's at one point in this, like, and honestly, I would suggest you look it up and go to the comments, because there's literally timestamps, and he plays most of this album because it was the most recent one.
Yeah.
But you watch it, and at some point during the concert, they pull a kid up from the back stage, and he gets put on a table, and there's a he's literally getting a face tat on stage while Ghostmane's performing. This chick has like fucking 3-foot dreads and is just absolutely blasted with ink, and she's just giving this dude a face tat that says "Kill the
like,
machine."
wait, did you watch this?
Oh my god.
Damn, that's crazy. What the hell? Like, I've never even heard of someone doing that.
Right? I was watching it like when I found that video, because it had songs off this album. I was like, I'm gonna actually sit and watch this.
Yeah.
Because I like his other shit too. And I'm like, wait, where'd that fucking kid come from? Because they don't like explicitly show it from what I can remember. Yeah. But then there's just a kid on this fucking table, like chained to this table. There's this chick just giving him a face tat. I'm like,
oh my god.
All right, whatever. Like,
goddamn. Dude, no, but yeah, this album, I do appreciate it. It's not something I listen to like all the time, for sure. I think it has its place, but I
want to beat your personal record. You're gonna be putting this album on.
Yeah. Every time now that I go to the gym, I gotta lift something big. I'm like, throw this on.
Yeah, I know. Jacob is adding all that to his fucking workout playlist.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm really glad you guys liked it. Honestly, I decided like as soon as like literally Monday of last week, I was like, I'm picking Noise. I was like, because George, you and I had a conversation about it. You're like, yeah, I like Suicide Boys, but I can't get into him. And I was like, all right, well, we can at least, bond over Suicide Boys, because I love SB too. Yeah. But I was like, you know what?
When I listen to this album, like, I see so much in Suicide Boys, I just literally didn't like try to listen to it.
Yeah.
Like, this forced my hand, and I listened to it. I'm like, I get it. I'm like,
it's way different, but the same at the same time. Yeah. It's it's so I was like, yeah, I have to. I was like, and I know Jacob, like, no matter how many times I rant and rave about it, he's never going to do it. And I was like, so I kind of did do it to kind of force the hand, but I also want to know what you guys thought about it because it's so interesting and unique. So I'm really glad you guys liked it. I don't know about George, but I keep looking at that fucking album you've got posted up behind you, Jacob, and I want to dive into it. So why don't you start us off there?
So yeah, Fugees was the album that I picked last week. The Fugees, the score to be specific. Yeah, it's a group in the '90s. It has Miss Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, and Praz. And it's like one of the bigger hip hop albums of that decade, and honestly, like of all time. It's like the impact that it had in that time, and even now, like it is one of like the greatest selling. Like if you want to talk like factuals and like just on the base numbers, like it is one of like the best selling and like the top ranked hip hop albums of all time. This album, like it's got like a lot of neo jazz and like neo soul. It's got a lot of reggae. It's got a reggae song at one point. It's like a spin-off of a Bob Marley song. It's got a lot of hip hop, of course. Like this album, it is hip hop. Like it really is hip hop if you think about it. So what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, you really hit all the nails on the head with it. To this day, it's like, I don't listen to the radio anymore, but sometimes you end up riding in a car with something, the radio does come on. You'll still hear songs off of this played on like modern radio where it's like, we play today's hits. And so you hear fucking Dua Lipa and then Killing Me Softly will fucking come on. And it is another one of those albums, I feel like we talked about at this point 3 very influential albums and very huge albums as far as hip hop goes, with George picking Illmatic last week, myself picking Mad Villainy, and then now the score. And holy shit, like sometimes you don't, when you listen to music, you don't think about who's in the group. I fucking forgot Wyclef Jean was in the Fugees. I was like, wait. I was like, what? And dude, it almost made it that much better listening to this a second time, because I had completely forgotten about Wyclef being in there. And I was like, Wyclef's the dude. I was like, all right, cool. Let's listen to this. And I was like, dude, it's unreal. Like I recently rewatched the episode because I showed it to my girl, and the last episode, and when you picked the Fugees album, I lost my shit. I was like, dude, god damn, like that's gonna be fucking awesome to talk about. And yeah, there's like funny parts on it too. Like there's so many skits and interludes that aren't even their own track. They're just in there, like the what's it called? Jacob, you added it to the playlist, but the one where it's the Chinese restaurant skit at the very, yeah, right at the end of the song. And he's like, this is a Chinese restaurant, but like Burger King, have it your way, and starts beating that shit out. I'm just like, dude, what is going on? It was awesome. It's
That's something that I always notice, like within like tracks that are kind of like soulful. I feel like they always have like a funny skit in there for some fucking reason. Like you look at Common shit, you look at the Fugees, you look at a Kanye West College Dropout. They just have like funny skits, like where someone is going off like all the time.
Listen up, Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this. Yeah, that album is like super sick. Do you have anything more that you want to say, Dorian?
There is. Sorry. There's that, you kind of mentioned it, Jacob, the No Woman, No Cry kind of remake. That's one of my favorite Bob Marley songs of all time. And when I heard that, I was like, oh no shit, okay, like let's do this. Because that one I don't think I ever got to listen to. I don't think I had ever actually listened to this cover to cover. And it was so badass, like how he changed the lyrics, because I've heard that song, the original, millions of times. And so I'm listening to it like singing the original kind of. I was doing it while I was making jerky. I'd listened to it again earlier today, and I'm sitting there and I was like, ah, shit, like even though I just recently heard this, it's such a spot on remake that it tricks you. Other than the absolute just, and that's there's so Ready or Not and Killing Me Softly with his song are like obviously two of the biggest songs for anything in the past 20 25 years. But so those are obviously, like, I'll give their credit where it's due because they are fantastic songs. It's no wonder they're as popular as they are. I love it when someone manages to make a song that's wildly popular but is also actually very good as far, from like a music snob standpoint.
Like good, actual good, like remakes,
Yeah. So other than, those two, Killing Me Softly and Ready or Not, Family Business featuring John Forte, probably my favorite song on this album. That
great song,
dude. Just the way that they trade off throughout this entire album is unreal. Just the verses, Lauryn Hill and Wyclef going at it and Praz. But dude, that song, it's just like they upped the ante and made it just so, they were really just like going at it. It felt like I was like, damn, this is so sick.
That's so good about this album that they all bounce off of each other. Like when they're all like rapping, like they'll like Miss Lauryn Hill will rap and then Wyclef will jump in and then he'll fit in and then they'll just bounce back and forth. Like they're like a group that is just like so smooth when they all get together that like it really is magical. Like when they
literally like in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And
so easily, so effortlessly.
Exactly.
Like,
and
when they switch it up, like it's so good every time.
One last thing that I'll say about it. One of my favorite points in the whole album is on Killing Me Softly, where the same guitar sample that they used on Bonita Applebum by A Tribe Called Quest.
I was about to bring that up. You beat me to it.
You just, like, the song's coming in and you're like, oh, this is so badass. And then you hear that, bow, 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 and I get chills every time it comes on. I'm like, dude, it's why I love Bonita Applebum so much, is because that guitar sample is so clean. But then they have it and they, like, I don't know who altered what, but it just sounds like pitch wise it's slightly lower, and so it's a little more longer too. I think they probably just like slowed it a little
down
bit
to fit her cover with her cover that I'm about to talk about. But yeah, like she has to sing slower, but they mashed it with her, and it because it's a singing song, but they put the bum 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 Bonita Apple, put so that beat on there, and they spread it out and everything, and it worked out perfectly.
Hell yeah. But yeah, that's all I've got. Is that last little bit. Fuck. But yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah. For me, definitely Bonita Applebum is my favorite out of the whole, or not Bonita, my bad. Killing Me Softly. It's definitely like my favorite. Because they have the Bonita Applebum, but before that, like really the reason why I like it is because she does a perfect cover of Roberta Flack's "Killing Me Softly" with his hand. Like that song, like she does such a good. Like my mom used to play that all the time. Actually, I think it was my dad that used to play it. We'd like go on like a ride or something, and then my dad would play that song, and so that song Roberta Flack was already like there. And like later when I found Fuji, I was like, holy shit, this is Lauryn Hill, the hip hop girl from doo-wop, miseducational Lauryn Hill. And she's doing a cover of this song that my mom used to play. And then they're using the Bonita Applebum like beat, like that threw me through a loop. I was like, what the hell? Like, why is this so, like, this is amazing. And I definitely think like that's probably like my favorite song out of the whole album. But yeah, like Ready or Not is such a good song too. It's definitely interesting because like Lauryn Hill, definitely fits like a hip hop group because she's such a leader. Like it feels like she leads all the songs with her voice and her raps and stuff, and then the rest of the people are like there to like aid her almost, in a sense. But it's definitely interesting to see Lauryn Hill like in a group setting and not just like her solo stuff,
Yeah. No, this album,
surprised.
like,
So I didn't know that she was in a group at all. Not until probably like when I was in like 11th grade or something like that. And seeing that, I was just like, what the hell? This is crazy. But yeah, no, it's like super cool.
yeah, this album really like it projected and it like launched like all of their careers because after this album, this was their last album, unfortunately for Fugees,
Yeah.
that they had made, and they had like done like reunions and stuff afterwards, and they did a show, I think in like the UK like years ago, but that was like the last time that they had linked up. But this album like really launched all of their careers like to like an insane amount because they all did their own individual things afterwards. Like Miss L doing her Miseducation of Miss Lauryn Hill.
So this album was before that album?
Yeah, this album came out in '96,
Oh
and
shit. I didn't know that. Fuck. I
the
thought this came after Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. I thought that came after.
No, this launched like all of their careers and like gave them like in like such a spotlight that they did that. Like Miss Lauryn Hill's the Miseducation of Miss Lauryn Hill was like her follow up to this. Like it came out 2 years after this, I think.
I didn't know that. Oh damn.
But yeah, man, it like, and they all did their own solo things afterwards. Like Wyclef, he did his own things, and then Prav, he produced for different people. But it like really did like launch like the Fugees individually. Like it gave them that like step up. This album won like 2 Grammys, I think, like best rap album, and
Good
then
reason. Damn.
and then best R&B song, which was the that song fucking that Miss L sings.
Killing Me Softly.
Killing Me Softly. Yeah, I was blanking the name for some reason. But yeah, and this album like really did launch like all of their careers. And this was the second and last album of theirs, unfortunately. But
damn, can you imagine? Dog, can you imagine if they made a third one? Like, I don't know if it would be able to. I don't know if it would be able to top it, but it would still be just an absolute heat machine.
Yeah,
I think they could top it.
I think they're definitely past because when they stopped doing albums and they did their own individual thing, that kind of killed like their group, honestly. But the thing that came afterwards, like Miss Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation, like dude. That album
so good.
It's hard to listen to that album, and I do. If I don't bring it up, I'm sure you would bring it up, Jacob. But I do want to talk about this album.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, she's very like emotional and very like in tune with her emotions, and she really like portrays that like, and she even like portrays it like on this album with Killing Me Softly. I mean, she's doing like Roberta Flack, like the Roberta Flack song. I mean, if you guys go back and listen to that song, and then listen to Killing Me Softly about the Fugees, you'll see that connection like immediately. You'd be like, damn, she did a very good job covering that song.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, this great album. It is definitely like one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. I think I was reading an article that was saying like in 2021 this album was like the 5th ranked hip hop album of the year of 2021. Like even till now, like it's still like such a great album that people still come back to it. So
right,
classic.
People in the pandemic were like, "Hey, yo, remember the Fugees album?"
Yeah, we need some nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh shit, yeah, let's listen to that." That's dope. Because I feel like it's kind of like low key gangster, but like It's also like very romantic. It's kind of like a romantic like album almost because Lauryn Hill's on there and the way she sings is like really like nice. Like she's definitely giving that like romantic vibe over these like cool raps and beats and it's just like it was definitely a defining moment for hip hop and rap when they bring like R&B slash rap, you know? Like this was like a pivotal moment in hip hop.
Oh, for sure.
It's interesting, right? I guess you could say like that. Maybe that's why like it became very, you know,
Prominent.
when it's one of the most important hip hop like rap albums. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like as soon as like even like all I had to see was the name of the group in the top corner when Jacob showed it, and I was like, yeah, it's that identifiable. Like even just looking at it, you're like, that's it. That's one of those like Mount Rushmore albums that really changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
I am personally also very excited to talk about what George has for us. What did you bring for us, George?
El Camino by the Black Keys. It was a hard pick because I was thinking about Brothers first. The Black Keys. I remember playing like Forza. It was like Forza Horizon like one, like the first Forza Horizon like game. And Lonely Boy came on, and I was like, damn, like it was a very good song. And at the time, I had asked my brother Jared for his like Apple ID so I could listen to like whatever he's listening to on my Apple Touch. And he had El Camino, like the whole album, like downloaded. I'm like, let me check this out because I listened to Lonely Boy, right? And so like I listened to the whole album, and I'm like, there isn't one song that I don't like. Like this is really good.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? Like this is like. I thought rock was going in a different direction, but then I heard this and I'm like, is this rock or is this like, what is this? You know, like I was deeply confused when I listened to this album because I liked it so much, but it was something completely different than what I've listened to before. Nebula is cute as hell, dude.
That's
She's getting settled in.
gotta find a spot. Oh,
She's
digging,
yeah, she's digging in the blanket. She's trying to make a little crevasse.
Oh.
Fucking dork. Sorry, that was just hilarious. I was like, this is what I was fucking about.
No, I love this pick, George. I do really like this pick. You threw me off because I was not expecting this. Was so out of left field. But I'm glad you brought this up because it had been a while since I had heard this album, and it's really good. It brings me back because like almost all of these songs, like I didn't skip any song. Like every song was good.
Every song's a hitter, huh?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a mix between like alternative rock and like indie kind of.
Bluesy, very bluesy too.
Oh yeah, like a lot of blues like the influence on it. You could tell like it's very like alternative rock at some points, and then at some points it's like very very relaxed, a very chill, mellow vibe. So
yeah, like what's it called? The submarine, Little Submarine.
Little Black Submarines.
Yeah, a Little Black Submarine, and it's very bluesy. Like that's definitely an example of a song that's like bluesy but still kind of like rock. It hits differently because like they really have like if you listen to the songs like there's loneliness, sadness, anger, happiness, and like pitiful shit. Like they express like a wide range of like emotions on that song or on that album, and you could hear it with each song. But they're all like very. You listen to it and you could feel like they could be singles. Like each song could be a single. That could have been an album to me at least.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking on the whole, all these songs can be singles. Like 2 of these songs off of this album became massively popular with Lonely Boy, or actually 3, Lonely Boy, Little Back Submarines, and Gold on the Ceiling. I remember Gold on the Ceiling was on like a Madden soundtrack, and that's how, like, I had heard Brothers, and I didn't realize that I did, because I didn't follow them. I liked Brothers.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good album, but it wasn't one of those bands that I was like, oh, let me follow every single step these guys make. But then I heard Gold on the Ceiling and was like, oh, they released a whole other album. And then I heard Lonely Boy off of it, fucking Sister, all these songs.
I love Sister.
Love that song. Yeah.
Me too.
Such a good song, dude.
And shit, what's the name of it? I literally had it right here. Hell of a Season, another fantastic track.
Hell of a Season.
Hell of a Season.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about the Black Keys in general, but also on this album, is their ability, even though they're just a duo, is to sound absolutely fucking massive. They sound like a 5-piece band at times on this album, and it's just 2 dudes doing it. And a lot of that credit I give, at least, to Patrick Carney, their drummer, because on this album, like, this genre of music, the drumming on it's pretty straightforward, but he's very technical, and he does shit just so well
for the rest of the
exactly. And he does like these beats that are very typical in this kind of genre of music, like the
almost type of like breakbeat type thing.
Yeah, but like that where it's like the he just does it, but he's also like throwing these fills in it. I'm like, dude, this guy's actually like insane on the skins.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to this album once on a drive. I drove to work, listened to most of it, and then I restarted it on the way home because I was like, dude, this is actually unreal. I was like, all right, let me listen to the fullness of the whole band, and then let me just pick out the drumming because he's unreal, and I'm huge into drummers and shit because it's just wild. I was like, what the fuck, man? But favorite songs off there, Hell of a Season, honestly, Lonely Boy over Gold on the Ceiling for me personally. And yeah, I just love how big it sounded for just 2 people. And they took the White Stripes concept and destroyed it because I love the White Stripes. I'm not trying to disparage them or say anything bad about them at all. But the Black Keys are...
They like backpacked off of it.
They backpacked off of it, but they're so much more fucking talented that it just made it... It's like, damn, okay. And I guess it is also kind of, 2 different kinds of music when you really look at it. But
when you look at Cage the Elephant, they also kind of have like a almost similar sound to... who did you just mention? My bad.
White Stripes.
White Stripes, yeah. They almost kind of like piggyback off of them a little bit,
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like that's where Black Keys but like they kind of like branched into different directions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's the same thing. It all goes back to the same thing where it's like we're meshing different genres together. And like, even though all our album picks were different, the one thing that we could all agree on is that your album, Jacob, mixed rap with R&B
and soul.
And soulful, and soul. Yours, Dorian, was electronic music, not EDM, but electronic music, rap, and fucking rock. And then mine was more rock, but also kind of like bluesy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But like we could all agree that our albums that we picked were all like the same in terms of how much they took elements from different genres.
Mm-hmm. These
are albums that blurred the lines, to put it simply.
Exactly. Yeah, they were all bold. You gotta like we talked about it last week with African Dream off of Miles when we were talking about how bold of a track that was to even put out. All of these albums were the same way. I mean, Black Keys, that's a very niche kind of indie thing, and in my opinion, them coming out and coming kind of onto like the main, like to the forefront of the kind of indie, that's kind of what they get boxed into, but it's like blues rock kind of coming out to the forefront
of that. I definitely agree with that.
Right. They got super popular because I think like Tighten Up was used on like an Apple or a Nike commercial or something when it came out, and so they got kind of pushed into the mainstream. But
They definitely did, yeah.
Yeah, but when you look at that album or that their whole sound, it's very bold. Like they sound like something out of the 80s or late 70s with that blues rocky kind of vibe that they have. But it worked.
Dan
And then it
Albrecht
also,
definitely has, like, I don't know if it was his idea or who, but like he has like a mic that just sounds like you were saying from the 80s, like the way that he's
yeah,
projecting himself.
right.
They
The
might have
vocal,
edited his voice, but I mean that's
yeah,
how it sounds.
yeah,
And it's good. I like it.
Yeah, the effects that they put on his mic in the studio and live, I would assume, is awesome to make it sound like it's old style. But
Yeah.
them coming out to the forefront of the mainstream, both everything because of they had like a commercial and shit. It kind of spawned off this whole new, you had all these new indie bands come out that weren't even, the same kind of mixed genre that the Black Keys were, but they were really just like straight up indie. Like Young the Giant came out right after them, Echo Smith.
Yeah.
All these 1975 got huge right after this album. All these guys, it kind of really did. That's when we saw kind of a pivot in
the
rock becoming
like
more mainstream
rock.
again. Yeah, because back in the 80s it was like hair metal and Metallica. Those were the big rock groups, and rock was like
either that or like rock funky psychedelic music.
Yeah, and then the Chili Peppers,
like
and then
one of the two.
Yeah, and then everything switched as far as like what everyone's listening to on like mainstream radio or whatever switched to like solely pop and rock music for a while. And then the Black Keys came out, and then indie was everywhere for like 3 or 4 years. And that's what I honestly kind of pinned that on the Black Keys, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
This came out in 2011, and right after that is when, boom, all this shit started happening.
So I was actually, before I was going to mention El Camino, I was going to mention one of the earlier albums that I discovered actually later than when I first discovered Black Keys, which was El Camino. But they have a song, or they have an album. Let me look this up. And I like this just for multiple reasons, but more so because of the album cover. It's like basically like a 38 special, and it's like fucking like, it's like yellow. The background is black, and it's like yellow, orange, and red, the gun. And that whole album is just instrumental shit by his band, and it's like, honestly, like, it's so good, man.
Chulahoma?
Let me check. I forget.
Georgia.
Yes, that's the one. Yes,
yeah, Chulahoma.
Yes. And I love the album because it looks like oil pastels, and it looks like something like I could draw. So I'm like, this album alone is like so dope. It's mostly instrumentals, but I think there's one song like where they like.
I haven't listened to that album, but I'll check it out. I like that. If it's instrumentals,
I definitely
that kind of vibe.
recommend that you guys should definitely check the album out.
Yeah,
you'll
send it in the chat for sure, because I don't think I've seen that one, but I'd look into it for sure. I love
when you think about like old school blues, you listen to that album and you're like, damn, like, okay, I understand where the Black Keys are coming from. And it was a hard choice choosing between El Camino and Brothers.
Yeah.
The only reason, so I'm gonna tell a story real quick. So when I was in middle school, like, this girl that sat next to me, she would always wear this T-shirt. It was a concert T-shirt of the Black Keys, and it was the Brothers concert T-shirt. And I was looking at her, I'm like, hey, what is that? Like, what's your T-shirt? Why does it say Brothers? Like, what are all those things on your back? She's like, oh, it's a band called the Black Keys. They make really good music. And I'm like, all right. I was like, whatever. But, like later, like in, when I was in high school and I had an iPod Touch finally and stuff like that, I started a Black Keys radio station because I was like, I always like put that, for some reason I put that like in my head when she mentioned the Black Keys. And then like I started a radio station, and then Brothers came on, and it's a really emotional album. But yeah, El Camino is just definitely like a banger.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
You guys already talked
Sorry,
about.
I went on a weird rant. Well, you
No,
guys should cut that out. To be completely, you guys should cut that out.
Do you want me to cut it out?
Yeah, I feel like you should.
Oh my god. We're leaving it in now at this point.
What was that?
We're leaving it in at this point. Like
I think we should. I think we should.
It would be funny, to be
no,
honest. It would
like,
be funny
because it tells like why you picked. You know, I mean, you only kind of described why you picked El Camino at the very end, but it's off by the wayside. It doesn't really matter. But I think you made a proper choice, because faced with both of those albums, I'm picking El Camino myself. So I think you made the right choice by picking El Camino over
Brothers.
Over Brothers. Yeah.
Brothers.
It was a great follow up, dude. Like, because Brothers was such
Just
a
listen. I would definitely recommend listening to
it, because they were already like so commercially successful. Like even after Brothers came out, they were like the spotlight was on them. And for El Camino to come out, and for like literally the first like 6-7 tracks are just no skips. Like you could put them anywhere in any setting, in any like commercial or movie or what have you, and it fits. Like it really just brought the spotlight onto them. And it like,
if you're hanging out with people at your house, you play this album and nobody's gonna have a complaint. Type of shit, you know? Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to say about El Camino?
That's it, honestly. Other than Dan Albrecht is a fucking genius. I mean, he has the arcs, he has Black Rock, he has his own shit, he has so many different brands that he has so many different bands, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think he's actually pretty. He's like the silent Kanye.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about like how much achievements he's done. He's just like doing it, and that's it, you know.
Right. No.
And I think Dan Albrecht is definitely like a genius in our lifetime, and I think it's gonna take like a long while before people actually realize the impact that he did in rock and like transitioning it to like indie type music.
Oh, for
and
sure.
Kind of like poppy a little bit, but it's gonna take a long while before people recognize the impact that he's done in rock music, I feel like.
Oh yeah, the both of them as a whole too. Like I said, I fell in love with Patrick Carney listening to this album and his drumming. I was like, dude, this guy's unreal. I was like, I'm gonna have to go do like a deep dive into him. I pulled up his Wikipedia article and was looking through it. He's got several bands too, so I'm gonna have to check him out just because I like his style. But shall we dive into next week's albums? At least announce them.
Yeah. Let's
take a quick siesta break. I'm gonna go use the restroom. And then we'll be back and announce the new albums.
Cool. All right.
Recording. All right. Fragile. We just got a vinyl in the mail. When you collect things, no matter what it is, there's always a white whale. This is a white whale for me, for my vinyls. I don't like how that just stabbed right into there. This guy packaged it pretty well. This is straight from Greece. Hide our personal information real quick. Wait. Oh, I gotta do it for every...
Careful.
I know.
This is a long ass video.
I know. I'm gonna fast forward this.
I'm gonna cut it down.
Cut it. That's a beautiful thing, is I can cut everything in Filmora. why you buy programs. Yeah. I like how he just taped it to this fucking sheet of cardboard. Just casual.
I'm sure as it gets there safely.
Yeah, gods to. Let's go.
That's gorgeous.
Let's fucking go, dude.
Did you guys already say your picks?
George stole my picks.
You guys said your picks.
Yeah,
I said we were
really?
gonna take a break.
That was my
No,
pick.
we just
bro.
we
Yeah.
talked about. He guessed what I was actually taking.
No, because I was gonna pick that too.
You guys are scumbags for saying it while I was
That's
gone.
great, dude. Pick the next one. Pick the album after it.
No,
Con
we
todo
can
el mundo.
talk about 2 Krongbin albums.
Yeah, we can. The fuck?
No, we need more variety. All right.
All right, you guys gotta say them again, but we're gonna go opposite of what we did last week. George, you'll go first, then Jacob, and then I'll go.
I gotta think about
All right,
something.
Jacob. If you want to pick that album, I'm gonna pick a different one because I have one. I have a backup album. All right?
Do you?
Do you want to pick that one? Yeah.
Once again-
you want to pick that one?
Once again, y'all are scumbags for saying them while I was gone.
I knew what George was
Well,
gonna
this
pick.
motherfucker guessed what I was guessing, and then he had the same. Funny enough, he had the same fucking album. So
I-
he could pick it. I don't have a problem with it because I want to talk about the album anyway.
I got a lot to say about the album, but we'll talk about it next week for sure.
Are you gonna wait? What are you saying?
We'll talk about it next week.
Well, you guys have to pick again,
I'm gonna
or you
bring-
guys have to announce your picks again. So, George, what are
Yeah.
you picking?
Oh, okay. So the
Putting George on the spot.
so the the album I picked is Jazz Abroad by Roy Hayes and Quincy Jones.
Okay, Jazz Abroad.
Nice.
Hell yeah! I don't think I've ever heard that. I probably haven't. I'm excited to listen to that.
I have a lot to say about the album.
The guy, but
What was that?
I've heard of Quincy Jones, not the other guy though. If that's a collaborative album, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. And Jacob, what do you have for us?
Next week, talking about Krongbin, The Universe Smiles Upon You.
Damn. Okay. You were telling me about Khruangbin this week. I think like you guys have picked 2 albums so far that I couldn't identify a song by either the person.
I knew George was gonna pick this up, so I was like, George, if you pick this, but it was gonna come up eventually. Either me or George was gonna talk about it. So next week, that's my pick. Krongbin.
Gary, when you listen to that, like you're definitely gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
For a
I'm
lot of
really,
reasons,
I like
but you're gonna enjoy it a lot, dude.
I'm really excited to listen to both those albums. I love listening to shit I ain't never heard before. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this whole shindig was to get forced to listen to shit that I don't. And for my pick,
Hey, let's
we're
go.
going Sensational by Young Gravy. His debut album. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with it. I guess it kind of fits the theme of shit, that is just completely out of pocket. I feel like we've once again got 3 very different genres. That album's very fun to listen to, and I have a lot to say about it. And I'm super stoked for next week. You guys have anything to say before we wrap up? No?
The only thing I have to say is that I think my friend Tony listened to like Young Gravy, and he had like a single that he released on SoundCloud that was a banger. And I think I have it liked, but I can't remember what song it was. But
Well,
yeah, we're
I'm
ready.
definitely, just like with my pick last week with Noise by Ghostman, I'm excited to hear what y'all have to say about Sensational, because it's a great, it's got no skips. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anywho, this has been episode 2 of Whatchu Spinnin. Once again, I'm Dorian. George, sign off. Jacob, sign off.
See you later.
Later, Gators. We'll see you next week.
Okay, my cut.